Hey, this is Corey from Reliance. And for those of you that have been watching, you know that I haven't posted a lot of videos this month in May of 2024. And the reason is because a lot of things have happened. And it seemed like one thing went wrong. My dishwasher went out. The washing machine went out. It's spring, so now I had to get all of the lawn and garden equipment ready to go. I built 4 more garden beds. And so all these things just kind of piled up on top of me all in a very short amount of time. The first of which was the washing machine. So our washing machine, we woke up one morning and it was draining and it wouldn't stop draining. The only way to get it to stop draining was to unplug it. And then once you plugged it back in, it would start draining again. And so I had to take that all apart, and there's a float in there. And so for those of you that don't know, we have a 90-pound German Shepherd. Her name is Mora. She's a 100% purebred guard dog. She doesn't like strangers. She doesn't like other dogs. She doesn't like cats. She doesn't like rabbits or squirrels or anything in our yard. But she is an amazing dog. I really do love her a lot. But she sheds like crazy. She sheds so much, especially this time of year. And what had happened is there's a float, and when the float is up, it drains to make sure that nothing floods and causes water damage. Well, her dog hair had gotten in there and it had wrapped around where the float pivots, and so I had to get in there and I had to cut it out, and then once I cut it out and it could move freely, it was fixed. And so that took a lot of time because I've taken apart a washing machine before. I've taken apart that washing machine before, but I've never gone like deep into each individual part. And so finding the float took me some time, but once I took it apart and figured it out, it was easy to fix. But it just took me a lot of time to figure out what the problem could be, and then it took me time to figure out how to get to the part I needed to get to. And so that one took more thinking time than it did fixing. Then right when I fixed that, my dishwasher went out. So my dishwasher was made in 2004. And so it's old. It's 20 years old. And when we first moved into the house, it came with the house. And it would run and in a whole cycle in about an hour and a half, right? Well, then as time went on, it would take like 2 hours, 2.5 hours, 3 hours, and it's been taking 3 hours for quite a while now, but it still gets the job done. It still does everything it's supposed to do. It just takes like 3 hours. Well, one day we ran it, and it ran for 6 hours, and I couldn't turn it off. I couldn't cancel it. None of the buttons worked, and that sucked, right? So I took it all apart and I cleaned everything because I thought maybe something was in there, because I had just fixed the washing machine. I thought maybe there was dog hair or there was something inside the dishwasher plugging it up, right? So I cleaned it all out really well, and then I went to run it again, and it ran for 8 hours. And I didn't know if it was ever going to stop. I really thought I screwed it up. And so I researched it. Luckily it stopped. Luckily everything worked out, but there's a sensor in there. And so I've never taken apart a dishwasher before. And so I figured it all out. I figured out where that sensor was. I figured all that. So I went and I took it all apart. I went to replace that sensor with one. So I just bought the part number. Right? I didn't know exactly what it was. I didn't really know what the sensor was or anything. I just bought based on the part number of the sensor. And the part number, I guess, in the last 20 years has changed because what I got was the correct part number, but the part did not fit. And so then I had to go and I had to research what that part number used to be. And then what that part number used to be, it was still the sensor, but it was almost identical. It's just bigger, right? And so they just made it shorter in the newer models or smaller in the newer models. And so I had to get one of the bigger ones. So then I had to order that. I had to return the other one. Plugged it in, put it in, and then it went back to, it did a load in 3 hours. It went back to, or no, an hour and a half. It went back to how it normally was, with run an hour and a half. And I'm like, hey, sweet, we should have done that a long time ago. Well, I don't know if it's because the sensor was pushing it too hard, too fast, or maybe it was calibrated to running for 3 hours, and so I don't know what happened. But the fuel pump went out on it, and so it won't spray water. None of the it trickles out, but it won't. The blades don't rotate. That's spray the water. There's no pressure really, and so I think it's the water pump. I think it's that. I really don't even know if that's the problem. But because again it's so old, I have to special order that pump, and it's going to cost $250 to $300. Well, the sensor was $20, and if I have to spend $300 on this pump, that's $320. And because of Memorial Day sales, a new dishwasher, I can get an $800 dishwasher, 50% off, so it's $400. I can wire it myself. I can install it myself, so I don't have to pay those upcharge. They always upsell you, right? And they're like, oh, for an extra $40, we'll have somebody come and wire it and install it for you. And for another $50, we'll get rid of your old one. And for an extra whatever, we'll clean everything up. And, you know, and so because I can do all of that myself, it's just $400. And so instead of spending the money on what I think the water pump would fix it, but I'm not 100% sure. But to spend that money, and if it doesn't work, I'm over $400 fixing the the dishwasher that we have. So we just went ahead and we bought a new dishwasher, and we're washing everything by hand now. Delivery, they said 2 to 3 weeks. I'm not gonna hold my breath. I don't. I know how shipping is. I know how the appliance is. A lot of people are waiting 6 months for appliances nowadays, and so I'm just gonna, whenever it gets here, it gets here. I'm not gonna hold them to anything because I know there are people that have waited. I know somebody personally that has waited 6 months to get a refrigerator, and so I'm not gonna hold my breath. But it should be here. But until then, we're just gonna hand wash everything just like we did back in the old days, and so that's not a big issue. We're just washing everything by hand. So what was there? There was the washing machine, the dishwasher. I built 4 new garden beds. So the garden beds, we had 2. And we planted a bunch of things in those 2 garden beds. They're 8x4 garden beds. The problem is I think we were trying to plant too many different things in too little of a space. And so even though we do have 4 more 8x4 garden beds, which gives us 6 garden beds, we're not going to have more of a variety. We're going to plant the same things that we always plant. So the potatoes, strawberries, zucchini, green beans, carrots, peas in a pod. I don't remember what the other 2 is. But we're going to plant the same amount of things, but instead, like, our potatoes are going to be in a full bed. The strawberries are going to be in a full bed. Then we're going to half the other beds, and so that way we're not going to have more of a variety, but we'll have more of each type of food, right? And I think that's going to be really nice, being able to sit down to a bunch of potatoes instead of just having a few potatoes and we get one good meal out of it. Hopefully we can get a bunch of good meals out of those potatoes, and instead of sitting down and enjoying a couple strawberries, we're going to have a basket of strawberries that we can sit down and we can enjoy over time, right? And so we're not creating more beds for more variety. We're just creating more beds for more of the same of what we already do, which we will keep you updated. If it works out, we'll let you know. If it doesn't work out, we'll let you know. And yeah, but that takes time and money, energy. What else? The lawnmower. It's May, and so getting the lawnmower, the push mower, the garden equipment, the chainsaw batteries, the weed whip batteries, all those electric garden tools that we use, charging the batteries, bar oil, cleaning everything up. Our lawnmower, our riding lawnmower, is the absolute cheapest piece of junk we could possibly find. but it works. We bought it new. I think we bought it for $1,200. It was on sale, and we got an employee discount on it, and so we got it for very cheap. It was literally the cheapest lawnmower you could possibly get new, and it was all the money we had. And so it's not great. Every single year I have to swap out the carburetors. I bought a second carburetor for it because I would have to take the carburetor out, clean it, put it back in just to get it to run every single year. And so I bought a second one. So now instead of taking it out, cleaning it, and putting it back in, I just take it out, put the other one in, and then I can clean this one whenever I have time. And then once that one's clean, it's ready for next year. And so then next year I'll just swap them out again, clean this one, and then next year I'll swap them, and I just keep swapping them back and forth. Because again, every single year that carburetor gets gummed up. Every year it sits over the winter, the carburetor's all gummed up, and I have to clean it, but it works. It still works, and it works really well. It gets our lawn mowed, and you know, it's just a small price to pay to just have, you know, the money that we've been able to invest in other preparedness items, the money we've been able to invest in camera gear and lighting and all the things so that I can make these YouTube videos, all the money that I've been able to invest in tools and different things so that I can take apart the washing machine, I can take apart our dishwasher, the vehicles, I can fix and maintain the vehicles. My vehicle, I had to replace the oxygen sensor. And then I brought it in because they had to change out the manifold. They replaced the manifold for me. They could just do it a lot faster than I could. And then air intake valve, I replaced the air intake valve. The alternator went out, so I replaced the alternator. The battery, I had to put a new battery in it. And all these things just take time, right? And so that's where I've been. That's what's happened. And like I said, all of these things happened in the last 4 weeks, right? So it's hard to do all of that and make videos and do all my other stuff. And so there you have it. I've just been really busy. But I have, okay, so the question that I get all the time is, why don't I film myself doing all of these things? I did take pictures. You did see the pictures. But the reason is because I'm not a professional, right? I'm not a technician. I don't take apart washing machines every day, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, right? I'm very new to this. I've taken that one washing machine apart 3 times. That's all in my whole entire life. I have taken apart that specific washing machine 3 times. I've never taken apart any other ones. I don't know about any other ones. I only know about that specific machine. And I'm not even that comfortable. I don't even know what all the parts and pieces of that washing machine are. Right? And so for me to film it, I make a lot of mistakes. And so I'll use like the garden beds, right? It takes me an hour to build the garden beds, which isn't a lot. And I take my time. And so it's an hour. If I filmed myself making that garden bed, it would take me 2 hours. It takes twice as long. So I would put screws in, and then I'd have to set up the camera. And then I'd have to cut something to length, and then I'd have to set up the camera. And then I'd have to set it and show you how to square it up and everything. And then I'd have to reset the camera, and then put the screws in, and then I'd have to reset up the camera. And so it takes twice as long to do everything. And so when I have something that I'm not 100% familiar with and I make a mistake, it's a 20-minute mistake, right? But if I'm filming it, it becomes a 40-minute mistake, right? And so all these little things compound. And then because I'm not 100% focused on what I'm doing, I tend to make more mistakes, because I have to think about the camera angle, I have to think about the focus, I have to make sure that it's pointed at me and the thing that I'm fixing or the thing that I want to show you, and I got to make sure that it's in camera, and I got to make sure that I'm not moving it too far to the left or right so that it goes off frame, and so my mind is in 2 places at the same time, which means that I make more mistakes, And again, that 20-minute mistake turns into a 40-minute mistake. And so what should take me an hour, if I film it, would take 2 hours. But because I'm not confident, I'm not proficient in it, those little mistakes make it take 4 hours, right? And 4 hours per garden bed, or 4 hours for one garden bed, and then I just make the other 3 off camera at an hour apiece. That's 7 hours that should have only taken me 4, right? And so it's really hard for me to do all of that, right? I already don't have enough time the way it is, and to add all of that on top of it, I would never get anything done. And so that's why I don't film. I did take pictures this time. I took pictures with my phone so that you could see what I was doing, what I was working on, at least what I had taken apart. And so that is what I do. I'm going to try to do that more, so that when I'm telling these stories, you can at least see what it is that I'm doing, and I'm not just, oh, I fixed the dishwasher, right? I'm going to try to take some pictures so that you can see exactly what that looked like and what the experience was kind of like. So with that being said, thumbs up and like this video if you want to see more of the pictures of me fixing some things and doing some things around the house. Subscribe if you have not already, and I cannot wait to see you on my next video.